Art Journal Tip. Well, sort of. Part 2. Reusing residual ink on a tablecloth that was previously used as a stencil. I cannot record these videos fast enough. Well, today I am revisiting the ink sprayed tablecloth technique I uploaded in yesterday's video. I used Cindy's suggestion, thank you Cindy, to use a brayer instead of a paper towel to transfer the ink. I also thoroughly wet the tablecloth and used a dry paper. But first I'll show you what happened to yesterday's paper and the paper towel after they dried overnight. No sooner than I have uploaded this video than I found some more good suggestions. My tablecloth is hanging up to dry now, but I think I may just be soaking it up again tomorrow. Keep those suggestions coming. I like this messy experiment, and now I get to learn from you, too. Hi there. I'm back, and I want to work more with my tablecloth experiment that I've been working with the last couple of days with using up the residual ink that's left in my tablecloth after spraying. But first I want to show you from yesterday. Remember how dark that towel was? Well, it's still dark, but it's not as black. I mean, it's dried. This ink dries a lot lighter, and it's saturated with ink. But also notice these spots in here. Now, I don't know if that's because I drizzled water on there inadvertently or if for some reason it's moved. I don't recall spraying this with water after. I just think I set it aside to dry, and that's what happened as it dried. Also, I want to show you the page. Remember how pretty that white design of the tablecloth showed through after I sprayed my white linen? Well, my page also dried a lot lighter, and the white linen design completely absorbed into my paper. Now, that could have been because the paper was wet. I actually poured water from my sprayer onto the paper. So maybe as the white linen dried, it absorbed into the paper. That's the only thing I could think of that happened. I'm not unhappy with this background. I think it's a nice background overall. I mean, considering that most of this was waste ink. I mean, most of this, except for the white linen and maybe just a squirt or two of the teal, most of this was ink that was in this tablecloth. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to work with, this paper is quite warped because, as I said, I wet this whole sheet down entirely when I was working with it yesterday. But I think what I'm going to do today is do some more experimenting with my towel. Now, the very first thing, I wasn't going to do this when I first started out today, but as I looked at my page, I think I'm going to spray some black on this to get my design back. And that will also put more ink into the towel. The tablecloth itself is, I did not hang it up to dry. I just kind of crumpled it over into a corner, to tell you the truth. And the tablecloth is still damp. So it's probably a good thing that I went back to this today because I don't want it to get moldy. After I get done today, I'm going to actually hang it up and let it air dry. So on this page, I'm going to spray with some black marble dilutions, and that will put more ink into my tablecloth. I might give it a shot of teal too because I like that blue in there. And then we'll let this dry and see what fades out onto the paper. And I'm going to give this a good coat because I do think this ink dries lighter than than what it appears when it's wet. So what we saw yesterday with that pretty white design. Now I will say my page is dry now. My page is not wet now. So this is wet ink going onto a dry page that's slightly warped. And I'm giving it a really good coat here. And hopefully, mostly because I want the ink to soak into the tablecloth too, so that I'll have some ink on my tablecloth to work with, but also because I want a good coat on my page, and I want to see how that ink dries as it soaks into the page. I want to know if it dries the same way that it dried last night. Give this some more black in here. Now some of this paper I think has a resist on it, so let me tell you, I'm using this ink undiluted, and I am really soaking this page, this tablecloth. Now let's see what comes off on it. Okay, I'm happy with that. But what will happen to it as it dries is the question. Will it keep its design, or will it soak into the page like it did yesterday? Let's do this side. And by doing this, I'm also putting more ink into my tablecloth. And I'm going to get out another sheet of paper and experiment with the ink on my tablecloth. Even though it will be pretty wet from today, it will not be like it's sat around for 3 or 4 days or 5 days or 3 weeks or however long. But it will still be using residual ink. Let's give it a good old coat. And now I'm going to give it some teal over that. Okay, let's check this out. Okay, I'm happy with both of these. But this is as the page is still wet with the ink. I want to see if that design is retained when it dries. I let this page dry overnight, and yesterday's design mottled into the page. But the page itself, when I sprayed that white linen from yesterday, the page was wet. And so I'm thinking that as the page dried, it pulled the ink into the page and modeled the design. Today, the page was dry before I sprayed it. And I'm hoping that my design, as it dries, will be retained. Maybe I'll heat set it. Maybe that's something I need to do. Maybe. This is experimenting. This is not a tutorial to say, this is what you should do and how to do it. This is I'm experimenting, and I want to see what happens if video. But I think because I wet that paper pretty good yesterday. Now also notice, as I heat set this, my paper is becoming less warped. So that's a good thing too. Maybe heat setting this is a good thing. And I'll probably spray this if this design is retained. I will probably spray this with a fixative after I finally get it to how I want it, so that if I apply more wet media to the page, this design will not move. And you can do it both ways. It depends on what you want to do. You may work on this later and want the design to move. Maybe you don't want that big bold flower in there. So it just depends on your experiments and what you're after. Ooh, I like this. I like how that tablecloth picked up that. Let me turn I don't know if you can see it or not, but that even in there it picked up the texture of my tablecloth. And I really do like that. So this is just kind of an experiment. I haven't given up on using my waste ink. And even on this towel, it dried a whole lot lighter. It dried to a dark gray color. A whole lot lighter than it was yesterday. And it gave me these mottled effects. And it even gave me some of the pink, the reds coming through. And I had a pretty clean white towel when I started, so it's kind of interesting to see what happens with this. I think this is going to retain the design. I think I'm going to be okay here. Now today really was not residual. This ink, this black on this page here, as I did it today, was not residual ink. I actually resprayed. So I can't, but it was more of an experiment yesterday to get my mottled background. It just kind of, that mottled background was not a bad thing. It just did not give me the design like I wanted. I'm going to set this aside now. I'm going to let this set overnight, and tomorrow I'll check it. And if it still has its design, well, I'll be checking my other page too. So I'll let you know what happens to these pages tomorrow. I'm going to set these aside over here to dry, over on my other table. And I have another page that is a completely white page. And I have this tablecloth with the ink that I sprayed this morning. Now instead of wetting this down on the front or facing it over like I did yesterday and wetting it down, I think this is the side where I sprayed this morning. I went shh. So that ink is on this side of the tablecloth today. But yesterday what I did is I turned this page, oh look how scratchy it is already. Yesterday I turned the tablecloth over and sprayed water from the back, and then I poured water on the page. Well, I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to leave the scratchiness on there. I am going to wet my page down, my cloth down, if I can, with water first to keep it activated. And instead of wetting the entire paper, okay, I'm going to turn it upside down. So the side I wet down will be what's facing the paper. And then I'm just going to put it down like this. And one Cindy out there, if you read my comments, suggested that I use a brayer instead of a towel. And I thought that was a good suggestion. So I'm going to use my brayer, because I think her suggestion was a good one, because a brayer will not absorb that ink. Yesterday my towel absorbed all my ink. And I don't think my tablecloth has as much residual ink in it today as it did yesterday, because yesterday I had ink from several uses. Today I have what's left on my tablecloth plus what I sprayed today. And I'm going to try not to spray any more on this, and we'll see what I get. It's tempting to peek. My paper is dry. I have not wet the paper either. I know it's doing something because I can see the marks. I don't know if you can see the marks. And also I'm getting some ink off on my hands. Shall I peek on one corner? Oh, let's lift it up. Oh, look at that. Now this will probably dry lighter. I'll use my, ooh, I like that. I'll use my heat gun on it. Let's try it more. Again on the, I keep forgetting which is my back here. Yeah, I'm good. Should I leave it as a diamond shape there? Don't know if it'll make a big difference, but let's see how much more ink we can get out on the back here using the brayer. Using the brayer was a good idea. Thank you, Cindy. We'll keep that one in our arsenal. Although, letting that ink absorb into that paper towel was not a bad idea either. Because I have a nice paper towel to, let me get my sprays out of the way of they're tipping over. Oh, this is fun. I love to do these type of experiments. Mostly because, well, I like the messy. I like to make messes. But mostly because I like to find out what will happen with things. Now I think what the brayer is doing is actually moving. Well, I guess I'm not going to say anything because I don't know for sure. Yeah, I got a lot of tablecloth here, but it's a tattered old cloth, but I don't want to rip it up. I like the big expanse of it because I have been using, see, look, I sprayed lime green here. Isn't that pretty? So I've got some residual ink there. And I probably have moved this several times. I don't know why my paper's ending. I think it's ending right in here someplace. I'll just brayer it down. And I did not re-wet my cloth when I turned it over, so, however, I do know some is moving on there because I can see it. And it's probably not going to be a perfect design because my cloth is moved around a lot. But that's okay too. Shall I lift it and see what happens? Oh, yeah, see, you can tell it's blurred because I moved it around a lot. But that's okay. Let's do this. Let's do this area in here. I don't like it that it's, I want more. I want more ink on the corners there. How about right in there? And probably the more that you do this, if you experiment with it like I do, oh, I like that, the more you'll learn. That's the fun of it. I think that's one of the things I like about it. I like to learn, but also I like to use up my inks too, because, you know, why let all that ink live in that tablecloth Well, you can put it down on paper or transfer it, and that's essentially what we're doing. We're transferring it to the paper. Now this will probably dry much lighter, but I do like it. Should I put a little more down here? Just a teeny bit on the corner, just to say I have ink there. Yeah, maybe that was a little much, but put another one here. And also, this time I'm not going to let my tablecloth sit in the corner. I'm going to actually hang it and let it dry so it doesn't get moldy. I'm going to let it air dry. Okay, but for now I'm going to set it down because I want to dry this with my, I want to heat set this, I think. So this was residual ink from the towel that was already in there when I started this morning, and from after I sprayed the one application on the other sheet of paper. I did not re-ink that tablecloth. This is all residual ink here on a white sheet of paper. And I like the idea of pulling, using as much as you can. Let's flip this over. I probably should have heat set what I did yesterday. If I would have heat set it, I may not have that modeling effect that and of course it's dark. It's dark because I used black marble ink. If I would have used teal, it would have been all blue. If I would have used purple, it would have been purple. But in this case, I used black marble, so. And I would say if you mix your inks on your tablecloth, you'll probably get a gray color too, because you tend to mix red and brown and black. But that's okay, I like this. Let's check out here's the page that I did earlier today, so it doesn't appear like it's maybe a little in here. Let's heat set this some more. I kind of like it if it will retain its design. The mottled effect is not too bad, but I like to have that lace effect coming through. I think that we're in good shape here. I think I'm a happy camper. Again. But we'll check this again tomorrow. I'll check both of these pages tomorrow. We'll let them set for 24 hours and let the pages dry and see what they look like tomorrow. I did not touch the paper towel. So, thanks for watching me experiment. And any more suggestions that anybody has, I'm completely open to them. Leave a comment, and if I get around to it, I will try it out like I tried this brayer. I think this brayer was a really good idea. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next page.